Hi there, I'm Dave Camlin, and this short presentation is about the idea of Terrapolis, which I consider as an as yet imaginary emergent global network of practitioner researchers whose music making projects address issues of sustainability, future world building and civic imagination. I say imaginary because it doesn't exist yet. This idea is still at the stage of being developed and trying to find the other people who might be interested in working on it. Terrapolis is simply, and music making as it relates to Terrapolis, is simply the idea that if we engage in music making as an act of civic imagination, it can remind us of our ethical responsibilities and obligations to the wider world by materialising the necessary attitudes and values to lead us towards more sustainable ways of coexisting with all life on the planet. So it sounds like quite a bold and ambitious statement, but I think it's actually fairly straightforward. I should tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a community musician who's based in Cumbria in the north of England, where I'm a performer and a composer and an educator and also a researcher. I work in lots of different contexts, and because I live in this very rural, beautiful part of the world, I do a lot of outdoor work. I developed my practice as a community musician from being part of the community of practice at Sage Gateshead from about 2000 through till about 2018. When Sage Gateshead was articulating its artistic programme as equally performance and participation. So a lot of my ideas have come out of this particular community of practice. But I also have affiliations to two conservatoires in London. I'm a lecturer in music education at Trinity Laban and also at the Royal College of Music. And I'm the programme coordinator for a master's programme in music education called the MEd in Music Education, which is an online programme. So the idea of Terrapolis is one that I play with in a book that I wrote recently called Music Making and Civic Imagination. Civic imagination is basically the capacity to imagine alternatives to current cultural, social, political or economic conditions. And I think music making is one of the ways that we can bring the civic imagination to life, because it involves the performance of particular values which are humanistic and which are of value in developing ideas about sustainability. So music making is a way of materialising values which underpin a more sustainable future based on ethical principles of kinship, mutuality and trust. So specifically in the book, I kind of argue that when we're making music, we're bringing these three values at least into being. Love, because of the way that we need to tune into each other when we're making music, not just hourly, not just by listening to what each other's doing, but tuning in at a neurobiological level. It's having a sense of being part of a communal expression, giving ourselves up to that expression and attending to all of the other people who are part of that collective expression. So it's a way of feeling felt. We can have profound experiences when we're making music, and we can get the sense that other people are having those same experiences. So we can have a feeling, and we can have that feeling be felt by other people. We can have the sense that we're all experiencing the same thing in a positive way. And I think this represents the similar neurobiological underpinnings to what we talk about when we talk about love, that sense of unconditional positive regard. And as well as this, we're also bringing the value of reciprocity to life, which is essentially about give and take. When we make music, we have to express something of ourselves, we have to give something to the musical moment, and we also have to listen to all of the other voices who are also expressing their truths, themselves as well. So in the musical moment, there's a sense of reciprocity in that it's always about give and take. Daniel Barenboim calls it a simultaneous dialogue, rather than one person talking and then one person listening and then switching. We're all expressing ourselves at the same time and listening all at the same time. So it's this kind of wonderful web of reciprocity that happens within music making. And in non-audition contexts, I think there's a sense in which music making can bring to life the value of democratic equality. And I say non-audition music making because what I mean by this is that when we're working with a group that has people with different starting positions, the intention of the group to be a success is to reach a successful musical conclusion with everybody still involved and feeling that they've had an integral part to play in the realisation of the music. And I don't think we get to experience that very often in life. We're often working with people with very similar levels of experience and ability to ourselves. So opportunities to work with people who have different starting positions to what we do provides an opportunity for us to understand how to be more empathic, really, and to work in a way that means that everybody can feel included and be part of the music as we bring it to life. And those three values, love, reciprocity, democratic equality, to me are the foundations of a more equitable and a more sustainable society. So we can think of this also then as a kind of social ecology. This is the work of Murray Bookchin. He kind of makes the point that nearly all of our present ecological problems originate in deep-seated social problems. And it follows from this view that these ecological problems cannot be understood, let alone solved, without a careful understanding of our existing society and the irrationalities that dominate it. The real battleground on which the ecological future of the planet will be decided is clearly a social one. The way human beings deal with each other as social beings is crucial to addressing the ecological crisis. Essentially, the ecological crisis is an example of domination that started within human societies and has then extended to the natural world, so that we're exploiting the Earth's resources, we're damaging the Earth system itself, we're bringing about an environmental catastrophe and climate change, and these issues all have social problems at their origin. So going back to the original point, the performance of values, performing the values of love and reciprocity and democratic equality is a way of mitigating for some of these attitudes of domination. It's a way of bringing into life, into existence, a different social way of being in the world. So we can also think of this as a realistic utopia. A realistic utopia is one that could and may exist, is achievable and consistent with what we know of the laws of nature, including human nature. So that's essentially the nub of the argument, that music making as an act of civic imagination is creating a utopian space where participants can experience what a more sustainable, more equitable world might feel like. And the idea of Terrapolis then is simply that when we bring this into existence, we're actually bringing into the world a network of practice where all of this is happening. So every project where people are making music, we're bringing these values into existence. And one way of thinking about how a future world emerges is by considering that these pockets, these we can call them interstices of music making, become hopeful sites of the values that will lead us into a more sustainable future, where these can be animated, brought to life and experienced. So the idea of Terrapolis as a network is wanting to reach out and find other musicians who think along these lines, who are doing something at a local level, but that have a global responsibility in mind, along those environmental lines of think global, act local. And this is the idea of a Terrapolis as a network, a global, virtual, mycelial network of practitioner researchers whose music-making projects address issues of sustainability, future world building, and civic imagination. And it's not a thing yet. I'm kind of exploring ways of making it a thing, and I'm really interested to find other people who might want to join me on that journey. If you are, scan this QR code. I'm going to try and point to it. Oh, I don't know which way to point, so I'm just going to point in every direction. Scan this QR code, and get in touch if you're interested in thinking with me about any of these lines. Oh, and that's just the MEd if you're interested in doing a master's. There you go. That's Terrapolis. Thank you.